Hi, I'm USA Today bestselling author Jennifer Youngblood. Thanks for joining me for one chapter a day, the Clean Romance Way. Today, I'm going to be reading chapter 14 of her Crazy Rich Fake Fiancé. We're going to find out what Ding Dong Ditch is. Okay, here we go, chapter 14. The next morning, Haven awoke to a blissful haze, her mind replaying the events from the night before. She and Wyatt had sat out on the back patio and snuggled together in a furry blanket as they roasted marshmallows for s'mores and drank hot chocolate. They had laughed and talked until after midnight, sharing slow, shivery kisses that carried into Haven's dreams. Her phone rang. She yawned and reached for it, surprised to see that her friend and co-teacher Trinity Keating was calling. "Hello," she began in a sing-song tone. Trinity launched into conversation without preamble. "Why didn't you tell me that you have a twin sister?" Haven's heart lurched as she sat up, all residual sleep vanishing in an instant. Her tongue felt like lead in her mouth as she forced herself to speak. "What do you mean?" "Don't play innocent with me," Trinity laughed. "The whole town's talking about the couple who found the Lillian Yates treasure. The girl who won, she looks just like you. She has to be your sister." She trilled out a devilish giggle. "Unless that is, you're pretending to be someone else." Sweat beads popped over Haven's nose. The invisible noose tightened around her neck as she pulled at her t-shirt. "No, it's not me," she forced a laugh. "Then it has to be your sister. I was eating breakfast and spit out my cereal when I saw her." "Yes, she's my sister," Haven said dully. "I knew it." Trinity belted out a round of high-pitched giggles. "I cannot believe that you have a famous sister and that she found the Lillian Yates treasure. Here I thought you were just a quiet, keep-to-yourself girl, and all the while you're famous, or at least famous by association." Haven took in a breath and let it out slowly, hoping it would calm her nerves. She knew the story would break, had told herself she was prepared. Nothing, however, could prepare her for this. She wondered if Brent and Demi had gotten word of the treasure. She'd be hearing from them soon. How had things gotten so out of control? "What is your sister like?" It was disgusting how starstruck Trinity sounded. Arrogant, self-centered, short-tempered. "Oh, you know, about the same as most people, I guess." "No, she's not," Trinity countered with a reproving chuckle. "She's a famous clothing designer." The dreamy quality in her voice turned Haven's stomach. "It must be so romantic. Ooh, and Charles Davenport is gorgeous. He's from one of the wealthiest families in America, maybe even the world. To think, he of all people found the treasure. Some people have all the luck," she huffed. "Yes." Haven paused, wondering how she would handle the fallout with Brent and her mom. "I've got to let you go." "So soon?" "Yeah, sorry." "All right," she sighed. A second later, Trinity's voice picked up its perky beat. "Be sure and tell Brent I said hello and that I'm dying to meet her." She laughed. "All this time I thought you were a regular school teacher, and here you are with a famous sister. Who would have thought?" "You said that already," Haven said dryly. Trinity laughed sheepishly. "Oh, yeah. Sorry, but I need to run." "Okay, take care. Merry Christmas." "Thanks. Merry Christmas to you, too," Haven said, ending the call. With a heavy sigh, she pushed back the covers and got out of bed. She'd been so looking forward to doing Ding Dong Ditch and spending more time with Wyatt's family. Hopefully news of the stupid treasure wouldn't wreck everything. Haven found Wyatt in the kitchen, downing a piece of toast loaded with enough blackberry jam for 3 slices. "Good morning," she said, sitting down beside him. "Hello, beautiful," he beamed. Her insides warmed. "Thank you," she murmured. She pointed to his toast, a teasing grin tugging at her lips. "So, I take it you like a little toast with your jam?" Marguerite, standing by the cooktop, turned to face them. "That's what I say. Go easy on the jam." She shook her head. "Trust me, you need to watch your sugar intake. Otherwise, you'll turn into a type 2 diabetic like me." "Well, if I do, at least I'll be in good company," Wyatt drawled. "Don't joke about that," Marguerite warned, frowning. "Sorry." Wyatt flashed a contrite grin, which immediately appeased Marguerite. She looked at Haven. "What can I get you to eat this morning? Blueberry pancakes?" Haven's stomach growled. She touched it, laughing in embarrassment. Wyatt flashed a wide grin. "I guess that answers your question, Margie. Feed this woman before she dissolves into a bag of bones." "Hey," Haven protested. He put an arm around her and pulled her close. "Just teasing. You look perfect the way you are. You taste good, too," he murmured in her ear, sending clusters of tingles through her. Marguerite cleared her throat, giving them both censuring looks. Heat famed Haven's face as she pulled back. Wyatt wasn't embarrassed in the slightest. On the contrary, he seemed to find it funny. A minute later, Marguerite handed Haven a plate loaded with a stack of blueberry pancakes. "Eat up," Marguerite encouraged, placing a fork, knife, and napkin beside Haven's plate. Next, she placed a glass of orange juice, syrup, and whipped butter in front of Haven. The pancakes looked delicious. Haven tilted her head at Wyatt. "You didn't want pancakes?" He made a face. "Nah, I'm more of a waffle man myself." "I'll take pancakes over waffles every time." Haven looked at the fluffy circles of goodness on her plate, especially if they looked like this. "Thank you," Marguerite beamed. She shot Wyatt an irate look. "I'm glad someone in here enjoys my cooking." He held up his hands. "Hey now, I love your cooking. I was just in the mood for toast." Yeah, Marguerite muttered, shaking her head as she turned back to the cooktop. It was fun watching the playful banter between Wyatt and Marguerite. Haven poured a generous amount of syrup over the pancakes and plopped on a dollop of butter. She cut off a section and placed it in her mouth, savoring the delicious taste. "You're missing out," she taunted Wyatt. "You tell him," Marguerite encouraged. "It does look good. Let me try a bite." He reached for her fork, cut off a large piece, and placed it in his mouth. "It's good." A teasing light came into his eyes when he realized Marguerite was watching. "Still not as good as waffles." Marguerite muttered something unintelligible under her breath, shaking her head. Haven couldn't help but smile. It was obvious that Wyatt loved teasing Marguerite and knew just which buttons to push. She thought about the phone call she'd received from Trinity. The story was getting out. Had Wyatt heard any news about it? If so, he was certainly taking it in stride. Her question was answered in the next second when his phone rang. The corners of his lips turned down as he pushed out a breath. "It's from my office. I'm sure they've heard about the treasure. It was on the news this morning and all over the internet." He stood. "Excuse me while I take this." He left the room. Marguerite turned to face Haven. "Tell me more about the treasure," she prompted, interest glimmering in her dark eyes. Haven sighed, putting down her fork. "We stopped at a bed and breakfast in North Carolina. We weren't looking for any treasure, simply trying to help someone," she began, relating the story. "That's crazy," Marguerite said. She laughed under her breath. "Of all the people to find it, 2 people who don't need it, the son of a billionaire and a clothing designer." Haven forced a smile. "Yeah, ironic, huh?" "What are you going to do with the treasure?" "I'm not sure." Haven shrugged. "We haven't discussed it yet." Marguerite gave her a wise look. "You'll know what to do when the time is right." "I guess." Haven stared down at her plate as she picked up her fork and dragged it through the syrup. "You're good for Charlie." Haven's head shot up. "Huh?" Marguerite offered a matronly smile. "He's happy with you, happier than I ever remember seeing him. The 2 of you are good together." "Well, thank you." Youthful voices carried in the air as Connor and Noah came skipping in. "Good morning," Haven smiled. "Hello," Connor answered. Noah only grinned. "Are you boys hungry?" Marguerite asked, wiping a hand on her apron. "Would you like some pancakes?" "Yeah," they shouted, sitting down at the breakfast table across from Haven. Connor looked around. "Where's Charlie?" "He had to take a phone call, but he'll be right back," Haven assured him. "Charlie's going to play football with me," he announced, his face splitting into a wide grin. Noah's face crumpled, tears gathering in his eyes. "Not me. I have to practice my letters." Marguerite shook her head, muttering under her breath. Haven felt for Noah. She got up from her seat and went around the table, sitting down next to him. "Hey," she began gently, touching his arm. Large crocodile tears rolled down his cheeks. Marguerite's face clouded, and Haven could tell from her stormy expression that she would have given Aubrey a piece of her mind had Aubrey been present. "What if we turn your letters into a fun activity?" Haven asked, with a lilt in her tone. Noah sniffed, looking surprised. "What kind of activity?" "Can I do it too?" Connor asked. "Yes, you both can." Haven looked at Marguerite. "Do you have any construction paper?" Marguerite held up a finger. "Yes, we do." "How about glue and scissors?" Marguerite smiled. "Yes, ma'am." "We could make Christmas ornaments out of letters." Haven grinned at the eager expressions on the boys' faces. "We can decorate them with macaroni and beans." "Sure thing. Let me just finish these pancakes." In deft movements, Marguerite flipped them over and placed them on plates. A couple of minutes later, she placed them in front of the boys. "We don't want to eat," Noah protested. "We want to make ornaments." Haven stood and went around to her original seat. "All in good time. Eat first, then we'll make the ornaments." All right, Connor sighed, reaching for the syrup. Marguerite wiped her hands on her apron, giving Haven an appraising look. You're a woman of many talents. Thank you. A wave of warmth flowed through Haven. She was glad she could contribute, share a bit of herself with Wyatt's family in an unobtrusive way. I'll be back shortly with the supplies, Marguerite said, walking briskly out of the kitchen. The boys had just polished off the last bites of their pancakes when Wyatt returned. His rigid expression let Haven know that the conversation hadn't gone well. Her heart dropped. Had he discovered the truth? Her chest tightened, and for a second she couldn't breathe. She willed herself to calm down. Is everything okay? She squeaked. He slumped down in the chair beside her. That was my office manager. She reamed me for not telling her who I am. She says my patients have been calling. They're confused. Many of them feel betrayed that I kept them in the dark. The staff is ticked. He rubbed his jaw, chuckling humorously. No good deed goes unpunished, right? Right. She touched his arm. I'm sorry. He forced a smile. It can't be helped. We were trying to help Lillian. He let out a long breath. Hopefully I'll be able to do damage control once everything settles back down to normal. Normal? If it meant losing Wyatt and going back to the way she was before, Haven wanted no part of normal. Noah got up on his knees. We're going to make ornaments out of letters, he announced, pointing at Haven. She's going to help us. Wyatt turned to her in surprise. What's this about ornaments? Noah wasn't happy about having to do his letters, so we're making Christmas ornaments out of them, Haven explained. A crooked smile stole over his lips. That's brilliant. Wyatt gave her an adoring look. She felt like a flower basking in the glory of the sun. Thank you, she said softly. Oh, what's this I hear about ornaments? Beverly asked, entering the room. Good morning, she practically sang to Wyatt as she kissed his cheek. She was impeccably dressed in a caramel sweater and sable pants. Morning, Mom, Wyatt said. Good morning, Bryn, Beverly said brightly, touching Haven's arm. I trust you slept well last night? Yes, thank you. Haven caught a whiff of Beverly's sophisticated perfume. Beverly sat down beside Connor and Noah. How are my little ruffians? She joked, ruffling their hair and kissing their cheeks as they tried to dodge her kisses. You little stinkers, Beverly laughed. We're making ornaments out of letters, Noah announced, his face shining with eagerness. Bryn's idea, a way to work on letters and still have fun, Wyatt said. Beverly gave Haven an appreciative smile. A fabulous idea. Can I help? You sure can, Marguerite said as she came back into the room, her arms loaded with paper, glue, scissors, and even glitter. She dumped the items on the table as Connor and Noah began rifling through the construction paper to choose a color. I'll get the macaroni and dried beans. Marguerite tilted her head, her finger going to her mouth. I know I have some yarn somewhere. Where did I see that yarn? She mused, a furrow appearing between her brows. She held up her finger, her face lightening. Oh, yeah, I remember. I'll be right back. See what you started? Wyatt laughed. Haven pulled out several sheets of paper. Let's do every letter of the alphabet. We'll draw them in block letters and decorate the inside. Better yet, Noah, can you draw the letters for us? Hesitation seeped into his eyes. I don't know all of them. We'll help you, Beverly said, reaching for a sheet of paper. Let's start with A. Marguerite returned with the yarn. Found it. She placed it on the table and turned to Beverly, her hands coming together. Now what can I get you? Beverly pursed her lips. I think I'll have a cup of coffee and toast. Wyatt burst out laughing. See, I'm not the only one. Beverly looked confused. What? Margie and Bryn were giving me grief about choosing toast over pancakes. I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Beverly chuckled. Trust me, if I didn't have to watch my diet, I'd be eating Marguerite's pancakes. Marguerite shot Wyatt a vindicated look. He held up his hands in defeat. All right, I hear you. Wyatt leaned back in his seat. So, Mom, are you ready to do some ding-dong ditching? Yes, sirree, she smiled as Marguerite handed her a steaming cup of coffee. She curled her fingers around the cup, taking a sip. It's my favorite time of the year. While they were outside the night before, cuddled by the fire, Wyatt explained Ding-Dong Ditch to Haven. Throughout the year, Charles and Beverly kept a lookout for people who needed help. They, or rather Marguerite and Ralph, assembled boxes of goodies, food, blankets, scarves, money, personal notes, and the entire family delivered them to the recipients. They'd put the boxes on the porch, ring the doorbell, and run. Haven was looking forward to the experience. Emotion welled in her chest as she thought of something her dad used to say. A person can never go wrong helping others. She looked down at the table, blinking a few times to clear the moisture from her eyes. Luckily, no one saw. Her dad would be proud that she was participating in such a worthy event. Hopefully, this good deed would help to make up for her deception. She and Wyatt had tried to do a good deed for Lillian, but it had blown up in their faces. Wyatt seemed to be sifting through his damage. Unfortunately for Haven, the worst was yet to come. Half an hour later, they were putting the finishing touches on the ornaments when Aubrey and Christopher entered the room. "Well, what's all of this?" Aubrey asked, frowning. "Look, Mom!" Connor held up the ornament he was working on. "We're making letters!" She arched an eyebrow. "Oh?" "Yeah, it was Bryn's idea," Wyatt said proudly, his smile widening as he held Haven's gaze. "A way to get Noah's work done and still have a bit of fun." "I wrote all the letters in the alphabet," Noah said. "You sure did." Beverly tousled his hair. "You did very well." "Can we hang them on the tree?" Connor asked. "You sure can," Beverly said. "After they dry, let's put them on the tree in the family room." "With the Christmas star?" Noah asked, his eyes shining with wonderment. "Yes." Aubrey sat down yawning. "Oh, sorry, I overslept." She looked around the table. "I appreciate y'all entertaining the boys and helping Noah with his homework." Her gaze lingered on Haven as she offered a slight smile. Haven took it as a truce. She was happy and willing to smooth things over with Aubrey. "You're welcome," Haven said, flashing a friendly smile. "There's bread over there for toast and plenty of coffee," Marguerite said. "Help yourselves." Subtle grins passed between Haven, Beverly, and Wyatt. Marguerite had waited hand and foot on everyone else, but that courtesy didn't extend to Aubrey and Christopher. Haven admired Marguerite's sass. Wyatt looked at the clock on the microwave. "Welp, I've got to finish getting ready for Ding Dong Ditch." Connor's face fell. "What about throwing the football?" "We did the ornaments instead, buddy," Wyatt laughed. Connor let out a long, dramatic sigh. "I guess." "We'll do it again," Wyatt promised. "When?" Connor asked, his expression perking up. "Maybe this afternoon when we get back from Ding Dong Dish." "Yes!" Connor punched a fist in the air. Wyatt stood. "All right, folks, we'll see y'all after a while." "Later, alligator," Noah sniggered. "After a while, crocodile," Connor responded. Haven scooted back in her chair and stood, her gaze sweeping over the boys, Beverly and Marguerite. "Thanks for making ornaments with me." "It was fun," Beverly said. "I really appreciate your thoughtfulness to Noah." Beverly cut her eyes at Aubrey as if waiting for her to say something. Aubrey cleared her throat, trailing a finger through her short hair. She shifted in her seat. "Yes, thank you." Her features softened a fraction. "Yesterday, I might have misjudged you." Color seeped into her cheeks. "I'm sorry." "No worries," Haven smiled. "Thank you. You have wonderful sons." Aubrey's face lit with pleasure. "They are pretty special, huh?" She winked at her boys, casting them loving looks. "See you turkeys later," Wyatt winked at the boys, who both laughed. Ralph came into the room in a bluster. "It's colder than a boardroom of lawyers out there." He suppressed a shiver, taking off his gloves and removing his knit hat. Wyatt and Christopher laughed at the joke. "Hey!" Aubrey protested, making a face. A cheapish grin stole over Ralph's thin lips. "Sorry, I forgot there was a lawyer present." "Let me get you a cup of coffee to warm your bones," Marguerite said. "What's the word?" Beverly asked, giving Ralph a tentative look. He rubbed a hand over his bald head. "The wolves are prowling." "I was afraid of that." Beverly's lips turned down, the lines around her eyes and mouth tightening. Wyatt looked back and forth between Beverly and Ralph. "What's up?" "Reporters are everywhere," Ralph said. Haven jerked, her stomach dropping like an elevator cut loose from the cable. She looked at Wyatt, whose face had turned several shades darker. He balled a fist. "It's Christmas, for crying out loud. Why can't they just leave us alone?" Beverly flashed him a sympathetic smile. "You already know the answer to that. The media has always been fascinated with our family. Add Bryn and the treasure to the mix, and you've got a media frenzy." Haven's shoulders tensed. This whole thing was going to blow up in her face. "What's going on?" Aubrey demanded. "On the way here," Beverly explained, "Wyatt and Bryn stopped at an inn. In trying to help a lady find her wedding ring, they found the Yates treasure." "Never heard of it," Aubrey said dryly. Christopher touched his glasses. "I have. An eccentric billionaire hid a box of treasure and has been leaving vague clues to its whereabouts for the past decade." He gave them an incredulous look. "You found it?" "Yeah. Wyatt chuckled humorlessly. Or rather, the eccentric billionaire struck up a conversation with us at the inn, then sent us off in search of her wedding ring the next morning. He rolled his eyes. Of course, she knew we'd find the treasure. That's fantastic, Christopher laughed. Not when you're Charles Davenport II, Wyatt countered, eyes narrowing. Or when you've been living and practicing medicine under your mother's maiden name, Aubrey added in amusement. Wyatt shot her a look that could kill, but Aubrey only laughed. I knew your double life would catch up to you eventually, she said glibly. Well, you don't have to act so happy about it, Wyatt scoffed. Haven's body felt like it was roasting from the inside out, to the point where sweat was trickling between her shoulder blades. Double life? Aubrey and the rest of Wyatt's family had no idea how much worse this thing could get. Why did Haven have to fall for the son of a wealthy family? Why did she have to find the blasted treasure? Why couldn't she have met Wyatt a normal way where he could have gotten to know her as herself? Ellie rushed into the room. What in the freak is going on? She threw her hands up. I go outside to get a notebook out of my car, and I'm swarmed by reporters, thrusting microphones in my face, wanting to know what I think about Charlie and Bryn finding some treasure. She shot Wyatt an annoyed look. Beverly stood. All right, everybody calm down. Ellie gritted her teeth. Would someone please tell me what's going on? Charlie and Bryn found some lost treasure on their way here, Aubrey said dourly. Now it's wrecking our Christmas. She glared at Wyatt and Haven. A treasure? Ellie's eyes rounded. What type of treasure? Aubrey blew out an exasperated breath. Must we launch into another explanation? She stood and went to the counter where she plopped 2 pieces of bread in the toaster and pushed down the lever. She rested her back against the counter, folding her arms over her chest. There goes Ding Dong Ditch. Too bad, she said flippantly. No one is getting out of Ding Dong Ditch, Beverly said, giving Aubrey a steely look. Would someone please tell me about the treasure? Effie huffed. Beverly held up a finger. We'll explain everything to you in a minute. First, we need to go over our plan. She looked at Ralph, waiting for him to explain. Ralph took a quick sip of coffee and placed the mug down. He cleared his throat. A delivery van will arrive shortly. Charles will go outside and talk to the press, asking them to respect the family's privacy. In the meantime, we'll hightail it into the van, which will take us to a rental car place. His eyes twinkled. Delivery vans have been coming and going for days to get ready for the party. The press will be none the wiser, and we can go on with Ding Dong Ditch as previously planned. Wyatt cocked his head, looking thoughtful. It could work. Beverly squared her jaw. It will work. Nothing, not even some treasure box, will interfere with our family's Christmas. Her voice took on a note of intensity. I've been looking forward to this all year long. I will not allow anything or anyone to ruin it. Yes, proof that Haven had made the right decision to hold off telling Wyatt the truth. She didn't want to ruin his family's Christmas. Please let everything stay at bay until after Christmas, she prayed. Bryn was in Ireland, Demi in Greece. Word of the treasure would get to them slower, right? Oh, how she hoped. Sounds like a plan to me, Wyatt said, his sour mood dissipating. Tell me about the treasure, Ellie begged, sitting down next to Wyatt, who explained it all. Several minutes later, when they left the kitchen, Wyatt turned to Haven, giving her an appraising look. Did I ever tell you how wonderful you are? Her insides melted. Thank you. Seriously, you even thawed the Ice Queen, which is no easy feat. His features pulled into an exaggerated grimace. Aubrey seems like a good person. I can't blame her for being protective of her brother. He pulled her into his arms, his eyes lit with a sensuous flame as they moved to her lips. Anticipation danced in her veins, her breath coming faster as her stomach did a wild swirl. He leaned in, his lips brushing against hers with tantalizing persuasion. Haven giggled, glancing around. Are you sure this is a good idea here in the hall? What if somebody sees us? His piercing blue eyes probed hers to the point where she felt he was seeing into her soul. He could have asked her for the moon and she would have given it to him. Then I suppose they'll get quite the show, Wyatt murmured as his lip came down coaxingly on hers in a slow, deliberate kiss that sent quivers of aching fire throbbing through her. For a moment the problems vanished as she got lost in the wonderful bliss of his strong arms and insistent lips. Okay, at the end of this chapter, I have a very important question for you. Which do you prefer, pancakes or waffles? I prefer pancakes. The rest of my family prefers waffles. I don't know why. I mean, waffles are good, but pancakes are definitely better. Okay, it's awesome how Haven could use her knowledge as a teacher to help Noah with his letters. I love how that everyone jumped in to participate. I'm glad to see Aubrey softening towards Haven a little bit. Aubrey's still kind of rough, but at least she's softening there. Okay, I can understand Haven not wanting to ruin the Davenport's Christmas by not dropping the bomb about who she is. However, the longer she keeps her secret, the worse it's going to be. I'm sure she knows that deep down. She just doesn't want to face it. Join me tomorrow for the next chapter. Here's to keeping it sweet and swoony. See y'all tomorrow.